I would say it's a story that kind of redefines either the way storytelling is done or kind of like tackles a topic in a new way and gives a new understanding on something that's been done before.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, podcasts, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read or play in today's case. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and joining me today is my guest, Chris Carnahan.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yay, back.
Yeah, it's been a really long time since you came back.
It has, actually. It's been, what, a year or so?
I actually think so. Wow. I think it's been around a year since last time we talked about Beetlejuice.
The musical.
Yeah, it was really fun.
So good.
Yes.
All right.
And so in case anyone didn't hear that episode, is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris. I've been in Taiwan for 15 years now, I guess. Mm-hmm. One more year than last time, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, perfect. So last time we talked about a game that not a game, we talked about a story that you defined as like breaking conventions of storytelling. I'm kind of excited because I think this one seems to like actually kind of breathe life back into it in a way for you.
Yeah. So I would just say that my whole thing has always been when I'm playing a game of any sort. So we talked about Dungeons and Dragons too and other stuff like that.
Yes.
My number one for me is immersion.
Yes.
And no other game has had me as immersed as Cyberpunk has.
Yes. Okay.
It's almost a little bit too real and too scary.
Yeah. It gets back to like the show that you did when you were back here. Technically possible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things that are technically possible and technically happening right now.
Right.
So what game have you brought for us to talk about today?
Sure. So I am talking about Cyberpunk 2077, but specifically the DLC that released last year, which is called Phantom Liberty.
Yes. And so that DLC was released in September of 2023, even though the original game was released a few years before that. I actually think it was released around 2020, wasn't it?
It was December, and it was not finished.
Yeah. It got a lot of flack for, it was kind of one of the many casualties of the crush that the game industry is under to get things done on time, regardless of any delays that may have happened in the development.
Just overpromise, underdeliver.
Yeah. Yes.
But actually, in the end, it turned out really, really good.
Yeah.
Which is why they made a DLC, which was even better.
Yeah. So to their credit, the developers, this was by CD Projekt. You just told me they also made The Witcher. They did eventually live up to that promise. We're not really talking about 2077, though. No. We're talking about the DLC afterwards. Is there anything that people should know if they haven't played Cyberpunk 2077? Like, I think my first question is like, is it a direct sequel or is it a related story?
Okay, so it's actually placed within the main story.
Okay.
It's like, so the way they read it is another like avenue to solve your problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of a companion story to the main story.
It is, but it's like a really big separate event that happens aside from whatever's going on.
Oh, so it's actually explaining like a phenomena that happens.
It is, yeah. It's completely different.
Wow. Okay. Oh, this is very exciting. So you don't necessarily need to know the events of 2077 to know what's going to happen here?
No, because 2077, somebody had a really good quote, but it was like, Cyberpunk has always been it's always about saving yourself, not the world.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like most of the choices are always going to be like a selfish choice. Like, should I let 20 people die or should I
do the right thing and like get the bus off the tracks?
Yeah. It's definitely one big trolley problem.
Okay. Oh, God. Oh, that'll be fun. Just a quick little thing for those people who don't know the genre. So the cyberpunk genre is always kind of a downer in general, but the idea of it is that it is a genre of almost perspective fiction that takes place in kind of a near distant future, near to us in time, but a little distant in the technology that you see represented. A lot of times it involves integrations between humanity and technology. And a lot of the core concepts involve dissecting what is different between them, but there's a lot of also kind of corporate themes that run through it.
Yeah.
And identifying how much power do we give corporations. In a lot of cyberpunk genres, corporations kind of become state or law.
Right.
And it's kind of seeing those out often in a pessimistic way. Right.
Imagine if all of Elon Musk's companies became like governmental agencies.
Yeah, and then
And you have like
Cyberpunk.
Neuralink and a chip in your brain, and they own everything about you.
Yes. So it's a genre that kind of plays around with how much of your identity and how much of our like collective human identity is online and what that might mean, or corporate owned. Often kind of a darker future. The stories don't always have to be that technological. If you kind of play around, there are like weird ins and outs of it, but it definitely is today.
Yeah.
So
I mean, those are the fun parts. That's the kind of like the point of cyberpunk. You can choose to be like anti-establishment, but
and anti-tech.
Yeah,
where you can like
right.
lean into it all the way, kind of become a cyborg. So, Chris, for those of us who haven't played, do you think you could summarize the events
Sure.
of Phantom Liberty?
Okay, so just going back to the main story quickly, you basically download, let's say, a virus. Okay, I'm not going to give too much away. That will kill you. And you're looking for a way to get rid of it. And so in Phantom Liberty, you get another option, basically. You follow another storyline to try and get a way to save yourself. And that's kind of how you get into it. But the events of Phantom Liberty themselves are just crazy. So you're just chilling when all of a sudden somebody contacts you from Air Force One. Basically, the president's on board. The plane has been hijacked by some hackers. And the plane is going to crash into kind of like a forbidden zone of what's called Night City. It's basically LA on steroids.
Okay.
It's controlled by like a warlord basically that used to work for the NUSA, the new United States of
USA.
America. Yeah. And he went rogue and like now he controls this place where he does arms deals and drug deals and all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's such a big deal is because the president is landing there.
Yeah.
Crashing
So
there.
this is going to be a huge incident, like an international incident. Intra, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And the person who contacts you is basically the president's personal hacker.
Oh, that's
She
fun.
somehow hacks into your brain through the virus that you have going on. And like it comes out that actually she's using really powerful AIs. She's about to die too. So the reason she contacts you is because she can help you and she can help herself because there's something in this town that they need. It gets really complicated, but the point is you go in, you have to choose to help her or not help her in the end.
Okay. So the plot revolves around you and the president's personal hacker going into evil LA, and you two would work together because you're both dying, but you can help each other because there's something in evil LA that will help to cure the both of you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But the problem is not only is she the personal hacker, she's also CIA, basically. And then all of her, like, secret super agent friends show up to, like, infiltrate. And the infiltration scenes are just amazing. You infiltrate, like, a high roller, like, casino on the top of this hotel. And you have these fake identities. And even in the middle of it, it was, like, crazy. They just have this concert, like an actual concert.
What?
It's one song, but, like, it's so beautiful. Like, the way they do it. Like, there's, like, a light show. And, like, the person's actually dancing.
It kind of sounds like they're putting you in like a futuristic James Bond movie.
Kind of for this DLC.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, you have to choose to help her or not. There's basically two outcomes. It turns out that she's the one that crashed the plane. Spoiler.
Oh,
and
okay.
because she needed to get here.
Yeah,
to
she
save
needs an
herself.
excuse to get into this place.
And it also turns out that she's going to betray even more her friends and everything else to get out of there by herself. She doesn't want to go back with the secret agents. So you have to choose, like, and like either way, you're going to get screwed.
Yeah,
And a lot of people are going to die.
Neither one actually cares for you.
Yeah.
But, like, who are you going to throw your lot in with?
Right.
Either with, like, the rogue agent who's contacted you or with the government.
Yes.
Capital T, capital G.
Yes.
Okay. Who did you choose?
So,
Was it the girl?
I planned to play it like I didn't know she was going, like you could just tell she's gonna betray you. But
Yeah.
anyway, I played it like she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I went with her to get her free of these people trying to control her.
Yeah.
Because actually they're the ones that caused her to almost die. So yeah, go with her. And in the very end, she tells you that only one of the two viruses can be cured.
Yours or
because
hers?
it's a one-time use.
Oh,
And she's going to use it on herself.
of course.
So you get another chance to either let her do that or betray her and go back to the government.
Well, okay. I know what I would do in this situation.
Uh-huh.
What did you do? And how did it play out?
So again, like this whole time I've been helping you. You just basically killed a whole city of people. And like, now you tell me you're going to like save yourself. I was thinking like my character would be like, well, I'm going to save myself.
That's what I was going to pick.
Right.
I was like, if I have been ride or die with you this entire time, because you said we would be saved. And now you're like, yeah, actually, I was not ride or die with you. I was ride and kill you.
Right.
I absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not after everything I've done, I'm already ruined. So like,
so if you want to see the full ending of everything that occurs after that point, you have to play the rest of the normal game. But basically, you contact the agents and you have them come pick her up because she's like unconscious at this point. And that's why she told you she was kind of like loopy. And then, yeah, that's it. She gets taken away. And basically,
because she's dying from the virus.
Yeah.
So you use the virus you use the AI on yourself.
So the government will actually, so one of the true endings of the game is the government will actually use it to cure you. And it's actually the new ending that you get, but it's also one of the saddest endings because you lose everything to be alive, basically.
Oh, it's like it basically hard restarts you as a person.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God.
So, but the fun part is that she ends up locked away in a cage doing the government's bidding for the rest of time. Yeah.
We'll see where that got you.
Exactly. So
okay. So completing this DLC lets you replay the rest of the game, but it adds like a whole different option for you.
Yeah. So it's actually just in the middle of the game. So you can go back anytime you want and you can play both simultaneously.
So, okay. This is very interesting. So, okay. Where do I want to start with this? Okay, how did this ending or how did this DLC change your perception of the original story?
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't know going into it that both endings were just made you feel horrible, right? Because you do kind of have a bond with her, and then she does like eventually open up. Yeah, and she does open up at the end, and you're just kind of like, oh, I really don't want to betray you, but also I kind of want to live.
Yeah, but I'm also dying actively.
Or the option is to choose the other people who are not good people, right? They're like the new USA or whatever. They've done some pretty bad things to the world.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a trolley problem. Like, which bad ending do you want? Right.
Did you find the flavor of this DLC was very different from what the original game offered you?
Not too much, honestly. But the original game endings you can get a bittersweet ending. Or at least you complete by killing the bad.
Right. So kind of like comparable original game endings were like more towards a greater good.
One of them is.
One of them more towards a greater good.
Out of 7 or 6. And the other ones are all nasty.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad endings with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay. So then what made this game, what made this DLC like so meaningful to you personally?
So it's really the interactions between the characters and like the depth of the storytelling. And that's why it's different from the original game, is just like they really like drag you in really quick into the story, and then like they show you all the different sides, and you really have to make a decision based on personal interactions you've had. And like they're not telling you the whole truth, like their character, they've done bad things, but as your character you've kind of done the same. So you really have to make a strong decision. And it's hard. Like I can't imagine doing that in real life. Like that's what draws me to the stories. It's just like it's so intense.
Yeah
Kind
of putting you in the shoes of, I guess, really just desperation, right? You are not a good person by the time that you get to this point in the story. You can be as good as you can, and you're still going to have like done something bad.
Exactly, yeah.
But you're also faced with two people or two forces. Some are more likable than others, but also ultimately neither one of them really cares for you.
Right, yeah. Or for the greater good. They mostly care about like their own personal parties or whatever. So
like at best they're likable and selfish. So, wow. It's very interpersonal.
And I think it's just also like the depth of it is just like the things you have to do. Like,
is there an example of like something you had to do in this ride along that really stuck out to you? Like an event you guys did together that really stuck with you?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, you have to, so it wasn't with the girl, it was actually with the other guys who I thought, this is kind of like the turning point for some people.
Yeah.
And myself as well. You have to capture these 2 French hackers, brother and sister, because you're going to steal their identities and you can change your face to get a meeting with the crime lord, right? The warlord. And so the whole point is you have to like learn their movements, you have to learn their history, you have to learn their behavior so you can imitate them. And it's a whole thing. And then you finally do it. And then when you get them trapped in the end. You're going in thinking like, okay, they're going to put them down for a while, and then, after this is done, they can leave.
They're going to release them.
Right.
Like, we're just going to keep them here so that we can use their identities and, like, let them go.
Exactly. But immediately the agent shoots them dead right on the spot.
Oh, my God.
And you're just kind of like...
Why did we do that?
But this is his true color. He doesn't care about the people. He just cares about the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And because up to that point, you guys are getting closer. There's another agent too that is more personable. But at that point, it's just, see, we do what we have to do for the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't care about the people.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like, okay, so wow. Yeah. So then you're also really sitting there like, oh, so that's what you did to people who are no longer useful to you.
Exactly.
Like me in, I don't know, 24 hours from now.
Right. Exactly.
Spooky.
So it's kind of like getting into those situations. I guess that was just really good storytelling.
Yeah. So then what do you think could make this a tale of our time? Or another way to say that is like, what meaning do you think that other people could find in Phantom Liberty?
Yeah. So you've watched movies or you've read stories about this kind of thing quite often, right? Like a spy thriller, action thriller, or something like that. I don't think the story itself is necessarily that different. Like I said, it was the immersion. It really puts you in there, and it's so fast paced. At some point, it feels real when you're just in it, and just going through those decisions quickly and having to make a choice, and it's not going to be good, but you have to do the best with the information you have. I think it's just a new form of storytelling that's people have been trying to do for some time, and it really reaches that level where it's just wow, this is me, and I have to do this in this situation. I'm really glad this isn't real life, basically, because I really feel everything I'm doing right now.
Do you feel like after you've played it, since it was so immersive, has it changed your perspective on anything now?
Not too much. I mean, it does make you it does bring out the cynical side of you. I had to sit with myself for a couple 10 minutes after. I was just because you literally wake when this done,
in a quiet space.
Yeah, you wake up in a quiet space, actually.
Oh my God.
And the other character who tells you oh, you sure you made the right choice? I have no idea, but that's what it is. And it's just
sitting
quiet.
With your choices.
You're just sitting at the side of the ocean, watching the destruction you've caused. And
it sounds like it's a story then that really, earlier I said it puts you in the shoes of a James Bond movie. Now that we're here, it's not quite that though, because James Bond is always sure of himself.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of talks about James Bond is not a good person. Okay, blah, 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 blah.
Sure, yeah.
But in general, we can understand that James Bond is acting for the greater good.
At least he thinks he is most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
He has a bigger enemy that they have said, I don't know, we're going to blow up London. So okay, at least we're trying to avoid that.
But anyway, so nobody's good here.
Right.
Nobody's good. And you're only choosing for your personal goals in the end. So yeah.
Well, but that's what I was going to say is that's the interesting thing, I think, that separates this kind of storytelling from a James Bond, or almost a retelling of that. It's it's cool, it's fun, you're a spy, but you're not acting for the greater good, right? You are doing all these things, even when you try to be a good person, that example you gave, you are only colluding with other bad actors of different degrees, right? So it's never going to be, can you do no harm? It might be, could you do the least amount of harm? But it's really kind of turning that spy, saving the world thing on its head, and then making you be the one to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's putting you in a place where you really have to make a decision that you hope you never have to in real life.
Well, we are out of time, but I have one last question.
Okay.
That is, if you could give Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty a one-phrase subtitle of your very own, what would that be?
I think I'll just stick with what I said before. It's just the ultimate trolley problem.
The ultimate trolley problem.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. That did make me really curious. So, well, Chris, thank you so much for coming back on my show. I'm so glad that we got to talk about this because I was really curious about it. So if anybody else out there is looking for it, go look up Cyberpunk 2077 and then download that DLC, Phantom Liberty, and then also maybe prepare a feel-good project afterwards.
Yes, definitely watch a funny video, cat videos.
Right, queue up your favorite playlist of just feels good music. You get into a knitting project or something to kind of hold you after you finished it. But that's all the time we have for now here on Radio Taiwan International. This has been Tales of Our Time. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, joined by my wonderful guest, Chris Carnahan. And I hope that you enjoyed learning more about Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, the ultimate trolley problem, a tale of our time. We'll see you next time.